list our accomplishments, and we only list our individual accomplishments in the relationship. You know what's funny? People actually do not. I can't think of the last time I communicated with an individual and they told me how he or she put in certain types of effort into the relationship that led to the success of their partner, where that success still exists after the relationship ended. People talk about their accomplishments. They list the things that they did in the relationship that wasn't appreciated, the things that they did in the relationship to keep things afloat, the things that they would be willing to do in a new relationship versus things that they're no longer willing to do based on past traumas, anything that they accomplished while they were in the last relationship in spite of the last relationship failing. But it's just a resume, and the oddball about it is that if your resume for a new employer was that the company failed while I worked for the company, but but I learned new skills, I'm gonna ask you, do you think that the boss would hire you? No. Would you hire an employee that told you that every company that I work for tanked, but I learned new skills? Yeah, that's crazy. We also become walking, talking performances of a person worth knowing, loving, and being loyal to. We put on this persona that you should want to know me, you should want to love me. And yet, so many of us feel a deep and painful disconnect. The same disconnect we were talking about yesterday and the day before. Our friendships feel fragile, our partnerships feel transactional, and our teams at work feel more like a collection of individuals that a cohesive unit would not represent. Think about how when I know this only happens on TV, and reality and TV are not the same, but when you're seeing a team that's working together and they're, let's put the scenario in a restaurant, and one person throws up a cup, the other person catches it, puts drink in it, slides it to the next person who takes it and put it on a tray. The guy in the back flips burger in the air, the other guy catches the burger and starts putting it on the bread, and some other guy slides a plate over. He puts the bread on the plate, and then he adds the sides to it and put that on the tray. And then the woman comes and snatches the tray as soon as they put the stuff up, and she's walking it down, and nobody's bumping into one another. And it gets to the customer, and then as soon as the customer gets ready to start eating, somebody else comes and brings. Yeah, that teamwork doesn't exist in real life, but that's the kind of teamwork that we imagine with a cohesive unit. Think about the other cohesive unit style. Typically in those great heist movies where the person on the left is doing their part, the person on the right is doing their part. As soon as the opponent is about to see them, the next person gets the green light and they take action and they're able to pull off the perfect heist. But even in the movies, the perfect heist ends with 75% of the people getting killed off, and the ones that don't get killed off end up in jail. You might have one person successfully get away without the prize. Crazy, huh? Isn't it interesting that real life works almost the same way as the great heist, that we don't really work cohesively. We do everything right, but we still feel wrong. The loyalty we crave feels conditional, like it could be revoked the moment we fail to live up to the perfect image we've so carefully constructed. But really, loyalty, the kind that becomes a part of who you are, isn't forged. in some sterile lab of perfection. Now, psychologists define loyalty as a commitment that persists despite situational influences and the availability of alternatives. In spite of this, meaning that regardless of what happens, and even if the opportunity arises that you could have a different scenario, you stick with what you have. It's forged in the messy, unpredictable, and deeply human moments of shared experiences. Typically, in Captain Save a Home moments, this happens when one person is in the midst of chaos and the other person bails them out. This happens when a person is about to fail and the other person is their safety net and prevents them from failing. This happens when a person doesn't have a solution to their problem and the other person brings the solution to the problem. This is typically when loyalty happens, usually. And based off of those sacrifices, lie for me so I don't get caught, cover this up for me, pretend like I was with you, pay the cost of whatever. And this builds. And over time, we end up with duty bound loyalty that's actually identified by psychologists as trauma bonds, where you guys went through a bunch of bullshit, you survived it, and you're connected together based on those paths. It's built in the trenches, not on the parade grounds, okay? Not during fun. It is built through chaos and turmoil. Special shout out to Puerto Rico. Ray, Ray from Puerto Rico, first time ever, really. Special shout out to Ray. Before I get into this, Ray, what do you guys got going on in Puerto Rico right now? Because I know it is hot as bejesus here in America. He said Puerto Rico, territory of USA, but that doesn't change the fact that over here on the north side of Mexico, it's hot as bejesus. I'm familiar with the state. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, just recognize this is a highly interactive podcast. So if you guys are watching this from Twitch and or Twitter, I will respond to your comments as long as they stay appropriate. So Ray's laughing. I want to know, Ray, like what do you guys got going on over there in but matter of fact, now that I think about it, I don't think I've covered Puerto Rico. So on Wednesday of this week, I am going to make sure that I have it covered Puerto Rico. Because if I don't have a video that exists about how you can make money in Puerto Rico, I will make one for this coming Wednesday, since he just gave a nice little shout out to Puerto Rico. And depending on how much time I got left, I might even talk to you guys about how you can make some extra money in Sweden, because we did cover Sweden in the standard of living in Sweden last week. So make sure that y'all like and subscribe and y'all follow us on that. So tonight we're going to tear down the conventional wisdom that a lot of people have stuck to, and we're going to reveal three unorthodox psychological secrets that will change the way you think about trust forever. He says St. Thomas is Puerto Rico territory in the U.S. and Guam is also territory. Okay, so I'll see what I can do. I could probably cover both, depending, because we do talk about a lot of investing in stocks and good places to live, very affordable, but territories of the United States typically have American prices, just probably slightly cheaper in Puerto Rico, maybe a 20%, 10 or 20% dip in comparison to American prices, but you're not going to live a middle class lifestyle on $2,000. It might be closer to $3,000. Where in America, middle class lifestyle is probably going to be closer to $4,000 or $5,000, maybe even $6,000, depending on what state you're living in per month. But we're still going to try to cover it. We're going to go ahead and cover it. Now, we're going to, on tonight's show, move beyond transactional trust because that's what I was giving you guys the information on earlier was transactional trust. Transactional trust is when I do something for you to fix your problem, and out of loyalty, you do something for me to fix my problems. And transactionally, we build upon that because the more you help me in the past, the more help I ask from you in the future, and the more you help me in the past, the more you can ask me for help in the future, and this level of trust builds. We're going to move away from that into transformational loyalty. He says the time in Puerto Rico is 12:01 a.m. Yep, that's what we got right now here in Florida. 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're watching us from Twitch and Twitter, you can hit that follow button and follow the show as well. Special shout out to Omni81 and Red Void and Danny Steffen from Twitch. Waiting on Steven from Twitter to pop in. Or not Twitter. Yes, Twitter X. Steven. Steven IMEK, I think it's his name, coming in from Twitter. Now, by the end of today's video, guys, you won't just have advice. You will have a framework for connections. 3 powerful, tangible strategies to build relationships in your life, your love life, and your work that truly, deeply, and unconditionally is unbreakable. So you will be able to take this with you, whether you're reinforcing your loyalty with your colleagues at work, reinforcing your relationships with your friendships and your family members, or reinforcing your loyalty with your romantic partners. Now, before we get to these secrets, though, we have to address the elephant in the room. There's usually one. More often than not, it's big and oddly colored, but nobody pays attention to it. You've heard the standard advice. It's plastered across every self help book and leadership seminar. The 3 pillars of conventional trust building. They want you to be honest, be consistent, and be empathetic. I have my doubts on that because when they say be empathetic, you first have to know how to do that before you can actually run through it. Roy says, my visit, my visitor in Puerto Rico, Levion, in my Chicago, Illinois. So you have a house in Chicago, Illinois, and you're visiting Puerto Rico. Well, that's good. That's good. Chicago, I think, is closer to Central America, which might be on Central Standard Time, not Eastern Standard Time, but it's only 1 hour time difference between the two. Yeah, see, I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I did take Spanish 1 and 2 in college, which isn't really nothing to brag about, but it's enough for me to be able to say that I can pick up on some words that are written in Spanish that I can decipher and get a good understanding of what you were going at. Um, so for those individuals who dive in here speaking straight Arabic dialogue, can't translate that, and it doesn't translate in the comments. So I will look at those hieroglyphics and be like, yes. Special shout out to a country that I don't know from the Middle East. Some people stick the emoji of their country flag in the comment section. It just pops up as the city and state, like ES or DS or DM or HK. It doesn't actually show me the flag. Yeah, from the studio side of things, I don't get to see all the cool stuff that y'all get to see. He said, Livian in Crystal's line, Chicago. Crystals, what's the population there like? Okay, hold on. Not screw the population. You're in Crystal Line, Chicago. Here's a good question. Where do you get the best tacos from? Because I want to know. I'm looking for like beefy bean burritos, chalupas, gorditas, like quesadillas. Like, where do you get the best ones from? Because I know where to go to get the best hot dogs and the best pizzas. But and you just don't want to go to McDonald's for the best burgers. Next to Five Guys, you're probably gonna find some pretty good places to go. City Crystal Line, Chicago. Oh, okay. So they do have pretty good tacos there. All right. That's good. That's fantastic. Special shout out to Michael, first time tonight. He said hello from Montesino, Washington State. He always got to put the complicated states up there. Taco trucks. But which taco truck, though? That's what I'm talking about. Which taco truck? Michael just busts out with some taco trucks got the best tacos. But which taco trucks? Because did you know that you can go to Subway right now and you can get you like a Nacho Bel Grande from Subway? He say any taco truck. Man, you go to a taco truck and you can get you one of these big bowls of golly with 3 bags of chips on it with so many ingredients on it. You're gonna need 2 people to help you carry it to the table. They done put it in the thing with a lid on it that don't close like an overpacked suitcase. You gotta eat half of it so that you can close the lid and take the rest of it with you for like $5. Yeah, cheap boy. You go to Taco Bell with that, they'll give you a little Ziploc bag full of for the same $5. Taco trucks be loading it on. They be trying to get rid of their inventory. They like, no, no, no. You take this food with you. You be feeling guilty. You like, nah, that's all right. Keep the change. I got way too much. 2 meals in one. Look, I learned that when I used to go to the mall, go to those Japanese restaurants. You be getting 2 meals of food in one box. So I'm like, all right, it's $10, but I get to eat it twice, so that's $5 a plate. Make sure y'all remember to like and subscribe. Now we're gonna be talking about these 3 pillars that they talk about right here. Uh, you want to say visiting Puerto Rico City, Aguadilla? I've never been there. We have not started traveling the world with the podcast yet, but we did plan on getting there. I wanted to actually get one of those drones that follow you around so that once you put it up there in the sky, it's like going places with you. Um, but then not San not San Juan. No, I don't like tourist spots to be honest with you. So when I do travel, I am not going to a well-known tourist spot. I have lived in cities that were 5 miles outside of the tourist spot and the environment is totally different. So my goal when I travel to different countries is to go away from the tourist spot. So I might touch down in whatever major airport that they've got, but then I'm probably going to travel an hour or two away from the airport into the middle of nowhere, like the beginning of a scary movie where there is nothing but one street light for every 3 miles and nothing but woods, maybe 5 houses in the last hour and a half. That's where I'm going to go and post up. Or a little bitty small town where you can count how many people live here and not lose count, where everybody knows everybody and everybody knows that you don't belong here, but they're nice about it. That's going to be where I'm going to go when I go. traveling places. Like I was just looking at some places right now in America where the city has a population of like 500 or 600 people. The whole city has a population of 500 or 600 people. Y'all in Washington State, in California, in New York, in Brooklyn, and y'all know 650 people in the building that you're in right now while you're watching this podcast. He wants me to visit Puerto Rico, not passport. Well, I'm not going to need a passport to get over there to Puerto Rico. I could use a driver's license as long as I got the star on the driver's license. You can fly into my place on the river, bro. That is deep. If you've got a house with a big lake or river in it, and you got one of those planes that land on water, and you can just fly. You can own one of those planes. You can get one of those cars that have like water gear on it that you can turn it into a plane, and then you can drive your car into the sky. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I mean, yeah, you gotta have like a pilot's license and all sort of weird stuff. But when you decide to GTA your way out of that house, bro, you can just either jump on a plane or jump on a boat and just on out. If a zombie apocalypse happens, you'll be the safest person because you'll be able to get in that plane and take off and get out of there. Your citizens, not passports in Puerto Rico. No, okay, so Puerto Rico is a lot like Freeport and Nassau Island. U.S. citizens are not required to have a passport card. They do have to have some form of ID. Well, they don't have to have a passport book. They do have to have some form of ID. So they because it's territory of America. So a driver's license and a passport card will get you in to the country because they're checking IDs right now because they're throwing everybody out of America. We have more people living in the apartments than some small towns. You're right. You citizens of the U.S. not needing passports. Yeah, I know we don't need passports in Puerto Rico. But like I said, again, they're kicking everybody out that's not an American citizen. So uh, uh, you got to carry your identification with you everywhere you go. Back in the 90s and the 80s, we didn't need to carry our ID with us unless we was driving a car. Now you have to carry your ID with you everywhere you go, because if you can't prove that you're an American citizen, some uh, 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 Escalades are going to show up with tinted windows, and they nobody will see you again. They're gonna get you good too. It's gonna be two Escalades, a Suburban, and a Range Rover. They're gonna shove you in the back of the Suburban, and then everybody's gonna take off. That's where we at right now with the deportation thing. Now let's go ahead and get on today's pillars. First pillar, pillar number one, honesty. This is what they be talking about at the top of the ladder in those self-help seminars, in those uh uh buy my membership and I'll help you build a better life. Fuck them. Come to my podcast and I'll help you build a better life for free. Um, with honesty, we're totally transparent, and totally transparent is hard to do because they want you to have total transparency and utilize that as the cornerstone of trust. Total transparency is a double-edged sword, and the reason why total transparency being a double-edged sword is as the person being transparent, I am telling everything about everything to the person that I want to trust me. As the person receiving total transparency, I am not supposed to judge you for telling me whatever you tell me, even if what I heard makes me feel uncomfortable. That's crazy. He said rule number one, never piss into someone's cereal. I don't know. I don't think that should be rule number one. I think rule number one should be not to get caught doing it. There's no passport in Guam, St. Thomas, Isle of Samoa, because it's all in Puerto Rico. All right, cool. You and if you're gonna be honest, you can't lie and say I didn't piss in your cereal. You just have to say that the cereal is not cold because of me. It's not possible. Back to it now. The second pillar is supposed to be consistency. Now, when I was talking to you guys about transparency a moment ago, you have to be in a position where they're not going to judge you when you tell them what you tell them, because the moment that you are being judged by the person you're being totally honest with, that will be the last time that level of transparency will be provided. And each time, ladies, listen to this. And I'm going to talk to y'all about this before I talk to the fellas about this, because each time somebody is transparent with you about what they think, how they feel, or why they did what they did, and you respond to that negatively, whether you are dismissive about it or confrontational about it, you will guarantee that that person, be it your boyfriend, your best friend, whoever, will not bring you that level of information again. The next time that type of information comes up, you are going to be asking questions, and they're going to continue to tell you, do not worry about it. It's nothing. I got it. So, transparency is going to be a two-way street. It has to be a judgment-free zone 100% of the time of transparency, and full disclosure at the same time. Almost like immunity for confession of a crime. It has to be just like with the Catholic Church. If you want me to come and tell you everything that I did wrong in my life so that God can forgive me, then you can't judge me and you can't report me to the police. Full transparency comes with full immunity. Y'all don't do it, you're gonna lose it. There, I told y'all Steven was coming from Twitter. Special shout out to Steven. And I got his name right. Steven IEMK. I got it right. Look at that. Steven's back in the house tonight. The stock blew up. The stock blew up. Bro, I've got like 300 extra dollars pending on my ability to sell the stock, bro. Oh man. I'm I'm telling, hey, everybody needs to buy into it. Orchid Island. Uh AGNC and Zimstock all blowing up right now, bro. Got to get in it right now, bro, because after next week, Friday, come next week, Monday or Tuesday, we're going to be looking at getting rid of the stock at peak performance, where we're walking away with all of that moolah at the beginning of the month. It's better than getting your check at the first of the month. Michael said they won't open up to you if you are just using it as bullets. Bro, I was just about to get to that, because if you ever take anything that somebody has ever given to you and regurgitate it, whether you regurgitate it as a joke, whether you say it out of anger, whether you say it to hurt their feelings, whether you say it to embarrass them because they're gloating, you have destroyed the catalyst of trust that is entitled to full transparency. So when somebody tells you something, that information dies with you. You can know where your husband is at, but if the police is asking questions, what husband are you they referring to? You don't know nothing. You're blind, deaf, and the closest thing to stupid that is humanly possible to be perceived. Doesn't matter what happens. They'll tell you that lie. Protect him, turn him in. Bro, if you turn him in, you're not protecting him. If you protect him, you don't say shit. Ah, special shout out to Eric. Eric's in here again tonight. Yes, it is called the guy code, but that is actually one of the duties and the bonds of a relationship too. It's girl code when the girls are doing it. It's guy code when the guys are doing it. It's family loyalty when you're doing it amongst your siblings and your relatives. And it is the responsibility of your romantic partner to exclusively keep your secrets long after you have died. You will haunt this earth before you release any of those secrets. That is the full transparency requirement. Now, consistency is pillar number two. And this is reliability, which is hard for some people who like to be inconsistent. Consistency means that whatever it is that you were supposed to do, you get it done no matter what. If you say I'm coming, you show up, even if you have to be late. If you and whatever you got to go through to get there reinforces the consistency that you will be counted on. So if you're supposed to be there and you're early, and then after being early for years, you show up late one day, but you're covered in dirt, your clothes is all ripped up, you got blood dripping down from your face, but you're here, they can say, man, no matter what, that guy will always show up. But if it starts raining and your ass don't show up, you can't count on him. The weather's bad today. Situation, tell your partner that hurts. Communication, yeah. Or solution, tell your partner that hurts, and in the communication. So do what you say you'll do all the time. Now, this is going to be a key scenario. I'm going to be getting into this a little bit later, but when you're talking about consistency, do not commit to things that you're not capable or willing to do when it comes down to consistency. And the reason being is some people are conflict avoidant. Their partner will say, do X, Y, and Z. We're going to go to X, Y, and Z. We're going to commit to whatever activity. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Knowing damn well you are not going to be a part of that. Instead of being conflict avoidant and agreeing to something that you disagree with, you have to be clear. I am not committing to that. It doesn't matter how if that's going to spark an argument or not. I am not committing to that. And the first bullshit ass question they're going to ask you is why? And the most honest transparency response you're going to give them is I cannot commit to something that I am not willing to or capable of doing. And that prevents you from being in situations where you're going to be tied to some shit that you don't want to be a part of. Michael says, my dad has a word for that. What's that word, bro? um, Now, behavioral science confirms this consistency is essential for building the trust bank. And that goes off of what I was telling you guys earlier. If somebody gives you their car the first time and you bring it back without fucking it up, they'll give you their car again. The more often they give you their car and you bring it back without fucking it up, the more often they're willing to give you their car, to the magnitude where they might just leave their car in your possession because they know that you're going to look after it. If they give you the car and then one day you bring it back broke and then you pay to fix it, they're going to keep giving you their car because they know that if something happens, you will take care of it, building the trust bank. But that comes from consistency. Pillar three is the empathy thing, and empathy is very, very hard to master. Empathy is different. Empathy is different. Sympathy, sympathy is when you feel sorry for or mourn what somebody else is going through. And that is typically how we behave. That is not empathy. Empathy is understanding and recognizing how someone feels and understanding why they think the way they think or behave the way they behave, which is not the same as sympathy. Sympathy is when you fall down and I'm sorry and oh, let me help you up. Empathy is yeah, it hurt when I fell too. Big difference. Okay. Michael said truth is earned. You damn right. You build truth and truth is earned, which is a whole lot different from trust, y'all. Because if you're not earning the ability for me to give you the truth, then I ain't gonna tell you shit. I'm just gonna keep you in the dark, keep you in the dark on purpose. King Arthur never had chaos in his kingdom. Think about that. Queen ran the kingdom till he came back with no problem. He didn't have no uprisings or nothing. Think about that. Now, in empathy, you're validating other people's emotions. You're offering support when needed. And offering support is, for example, this isn't support emotionally, but this is support physically. Physically, if your partner or your friend or your family member was carrying 38 bags of groceries up like 6 flights of stairs, and you see them carrying all that shit while they can carry that shit themselves, you ain't got nothing in your hands. You just take one handful of groceries out of your friend's hands to lighten their load because even though they can do it themselves, you're going to do it with them, offering support. That's different. That's different from offering pity. Oh, you're poor, let me pay for you. No. And then you want to create a sense of emotional safety, meaning that if it's a scenario where somebody's got to cry, you don't judge them for it. You don't mock them afterwards. You don't bring it up later. You don't have this awkward look with them after that, because one of the things that men have a problem with in their lives is that men can never show weakness. Sadness is considered weakness, vulnerability is considered weakness, and it's not. It's actually strength. And the fact is that men have to show sadness by projecting it as anger in order to never be perceived as weak. A man can't have a tear in his eye. It has to be a dust particle or something like that. It has to be sinus problems. It can't just really honestly be crying. See what I'm saying? And the fact is that because of that, society does not provide the average man emotional safety positions. So if you're going to be empathetic, if your bro got to tear it up a little bit because he caught her with the pool boy, you got to be able to sit there with him, drink a few beers, let him cry it out, never bring that moment up again. That is a dead zone topic. This will build levels of loyalty. Now, these are the 3 pillars. Now, let's be perfectly clear. This advice isn't wrong, but I did point out how that advice does have its flaws. It's fundamentally critically important. Honesty, consistency, and empathy. And they are the absolute foundations of any healthy relationship, but they are the price you pay to even be in the game to begin with. But here's the dangerous trap that we fall into. We mistaken the foundation for the finished building. Yeah, I think about that. We think if we just check these 3 boxes hard enough, unbreakable loyalty will be our reward. But it rarely is. Why do you think that is? Because when we focus only on these pillars, we can accidentally turn our relationship into a performance. Michael says, men live in silence. Men live silent lives of desperation. Men live silent lives of desperation. Men have reactionary behavior patterns that are called self preservation. A lot of people, including women especially, will shame a man or talk bad about a man's decision making process because they don't agree with it. But you have to understand that while you may not agree with the decisions that he's made in this particular situation, you have to ask yourself what caused that, because men are reactionary, self preservation behavior. Something happens to you, he does something about it. Nothing happens to you, he has nothing to do. That's why men are inconsiderate and women are selfish, because when a man knows that he needs to take action, he will take action. Special shout out to Slur from Twitch. He says, someone says that I look like Duke Dennis. Well, as long as I don't look like Vance, that's good. Um, I've been told Andre 3000, Snoop, they've been calling me Blade all week. Um, Morpheus, I've got a lot of things. Um, Papa Doc from 8 Mile, I got a lot of things. Long as I'm looking like somebody famous, that puts me in a famous category. So special shout out to Twitch. Um, where were we? We were talking about the silent lives. So, ladies, when y'all have He says, the I fuck with you trying to link and have you're playing too much, bruh. You're not gonna be able to do that. Not with me. We're so that will be the last extremely inappropriate comment. We're gonna let that ride for tonight. So be a little bit more appropriate, bro, because we do got folks up in here that's not so much of the age of 18, and this is a live podcast. So I'm gonna ask you to tighten up on your comments. All right. The internet brings out the woodwork, y'all. But yeah, like me and Michael were talking about, ladies, y'all have to find out what started that decision making process. You can't just initially take action on the guy's retaliatory behavior process. That's also a part of being empathetic. Knowing what led them to make the decisions that they make. And if you think about this now as an adult, when we were kids, that's the first thing our parents did before they beat our behinds for doing something stupid. They ask us one simple yet complex question. What were you thinking when you did that? You were so afraid of getting your behind whooped that you did not want to say the wrong answer. So you said the wrong answer. I don't know. Because not that you don't know what you were thinking in the moment that you did that, I don't know what the right answer is here. There are no right answers. The person that's about to tear that behind up want to know what you was thinking when your thought process led you down the wrong path. But yes, men live silent lives of desperation because we're in a society. Every most societies around the world put pressure on the men to perform in some way, shape, or form in matriarchal societies and patriarchal societies. And because the men have the stereotypical, unchanged, traditional gender roles, while women's roles have become more fluid across the world, and a lot of times involving far less responsibility, men do not have a change in role. If a man does not perform the masculine roles, a man is no longer considered masculine. A man's gender identity is challenged when he is not masculine. A woman has no reason. You will never have a scenario where a woman is being challenged on her gender at all, ever. It's crazy. Michael says, and you know you're in trouble when your mom used your full name, bro. It's going down. When they use your whole government name, not your nickname, not your first name, not your whole first name, your whole government name. First, second, third, fifth, eighth, the whole government name. You like, uh-oh, uh-oh. You already know you in trouble. And you know what's funny? You know what's funny? Your mama used your whole government name and the judge used your whole government name too. Think about that. And you know you in trouble when you got to stand before the judge. You know you in trouble when you got to stand before the judge. Now, while we're trying to put on this performance in our relationships, we become actors playing a role of a trustworthy person. And this becomes an issue because we're honest, but only with the truths that are easy to share. We're not honest about the ones that we're a little bit uncomfortable about, the ones that we're too embarrassed to share, the ones that change the way you see us. We're not honest about those. We're consistent, but our consistency can become rigid and robotic. We're only consistent about the easy things that are easy to perform, like showing up for work on time or always being at home eventually after work kind of situation. Our empathy can feel like a script where we're reading what we're supposed to saying what you're supposed to say in the moment rather than feeling where we're experiencing what you're experiencing kind of thing. We build a flawless foundation, but we never put up the walls or the roof. The structure is sound, but no one can actually live inside of it. It's like a museum of a good person, pristine and untouched, where others can admire you from a safe distance but never truly feel at home with you. Like having a toy that you never get to play with, you can't take it out of the package because it's going to be worth something someday. So all you can do is look at it. Yeah, that's it. I ain't never had one of them. Every toy I got, I opened it before I got back to the house. Now y'all got to understand that this is the conventional trap. It's why you can be the most reliable employee, the most honest partner, and the most supportive friend and still feel profoundly isolated. Conventional advice teaches us how to be perfectly predictable, but it doesn't teach us how to be deeply human. Now, one of the things that we have to realize is that when you are perfectly predictable, it becomes a double edged sword as well. Being perfectly predictable means that you go to the same places all the time. Being perfectly predictable means that you get the same things all the time. Being perfectly predictable has its benefits because people always know where you're going to be, so they know where to find you. Downside is people always know where you're going to be, so they always know where to find you. Predictability has another drawback. If you decide to change your routine, question marks come up. If you've ever gone to the same restaurant repetitively, ordered the same thing every time, the day that you order something different, the waitress or waiter will ask you what sparks the change. Oh, you want to try something new? What happened? Do you not like the way we normally make it? The predictability. They see your face and know exactly what you want to eat, which ironically your wife doesn't do. You have to think about how consistency can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Now, unbreakable loyalty isn't given to the perfect, right? Make sure y'all like and subscribe as we go through this. It is earned by the real. And getting real requires a different set of tools. Tools that are a little strange, a little scary, and far more powerful than you can imagine. Michael's talking about emotional walls. I don't do emotional walls. I have non negotiable expectations for behavior. I'm not building up boundaries. You can get as close to me as you want to, but your ass ain't going to behave the way I tell you you're not going to behave because you're not going to be around me with that bullshit. That's how I am. I'm like that with everybody. I will shut out a family member, not because you've crossed my boundary. By all means, cross my boundary, but defy my expectations. You're cut from the team, bro. Your salary is severed. There's non-negotiables about that. I expect you to perform. Everybody in the family, no matter how old or how young they are, have a role to play. And this isn't gender roles. This isn't exclusive roles. You have the people who bring it in. You have the people who mix it up. You have the people who spread it out. There is no scenario, even in Amish country, there is no scenario where any one person can have literally no responsibilities. Even the babies got responsibilities. Poop, cry, and make the adults go, oh, you've got responsibility. Michael said, absolutely. Take the walls down. Like Chris Jericho, break the walls down. Yes, you got to. You got to break down the walls. Because when you put boundaries in your relationship, you're building invisible walls in your relationships, which then has restrictions towards your partner and your family members. And I don't think people understand how boundaries work because boundaries mean don't cross this line. Boundaries mean don't get any closer than this. If y'all watch the movie Life, boundaries mean don't cross the gun line, boss. That's what that means. And if you cross the gun line, boss, you're gonna get taken out. You're not putting up boundaries with people who are supposed to be, y'all are supposed to be in the same skin. What do you mean boundaries? Doesn't work that way. Okay. Michael says, especially when I am paying you to do a job for me, the wife, the girlfriend, the secretary. Damn right. If I'm paying for your standard of living, you are not. I'm not supposed to have boundaries. You're supposed to do what I need you to do. Fuck out of here. This brings us to our first unorthodox secret, and it's a direct challenge to everything we've been taught about making a good impression. I actually hate making good impressions. I have always been the person to put my worst foot forward. And the reason why I do that is because if this is the worst that it'll get with me, it is only uphill from here. Those people who put their best foot forward, this is the best you'll ever get out of me, and it is only downhill from here. And they don't really understand the dynamic, but difference. They learn to love it when they get it from me because they're like, he'll never fail you. He'll piss you off, but he'll never fail you. Michael says boundaries are not fitted points; they are flexible. Well, boundaries are supposed to be flexible, but really, boundaries are a significant quantity of pet peeves that another person sets standards for that forces individuals to conform, flexible like the tide, in and out. And see, when I set standards of behavior. And the reason why I set standards of behavior is because you are your own person. You're going to make choices. I'm not going to like them all, but there are certain choices that I am not going to accept. So I'm not going to control you. You can live whatever life you want to live, but while you're in my observation, while your decisions directly impact my outcome, there are things that you should not do. Doesn't mean you can't do it. You should not do it. Now, when you do it and it negatively impacts my operations, you gotta go. Everything else, you can do whatever you want to do. You can do something that pisses me off to high heaven, but that is not one of my non-negotiable expectations. He says, "There's your boundaries." That's not boundaries, bro. Because if I'm setting a boundary, that means that you can't cross. You cannot cross a certain line in the sand. No, you can do whatever you want to do. I am not going to affiliate with you when you do things that I'm not okay with. See, when you set a boundary, you're setting a prohibition. You're putting up no trespassing sign. I am telling you that I will remove myself from your existence if you do things that I don't like. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. I'm not stopping you from behaving. He said, "Good. Someone is getting fired Monday." You damn right. Somebody gonna lose a job. I had fired the co-host of this show. There used to be two of us here. Yeah, I mean, I don't play games. I'm like, no, I'm not dealing with this bullshit. Now, using one of the unpredictable methods I'm about to give you, the first secret to forging unbreakable loyalty is intentionally revealing your weaknesses first. Now, this one you're going to tread lightly with, understanding that we have a lot of narcissistic behavior out there, we have a lot of toxic folks out there. Intentionally revealing your weaknesses first. You want to let that sink in for a second. All our lives, we are taught to earn trust. So we must project strength and competence, right? From a first date to a job interview, our instinct is to hide our flaws. We think if they see my cracks, they'll walk away. But this constant performance is exhausting and worse. it doesn't work. It creates a barrier of intimidation. So when you present a perfect facade, you subtly tell the other person, I am flawless and I expect you to be too. And I don't have that expectation of people. I am extremely full of flaws. I tell people all the time, I expect you to make mistakes because I make a ton of mistakes. In order for me to be as wise as I am, I have had to be a complete dumbass at the first half of my life. I would have to be the biggest fool and make the worst decisions, but I learned from all of them. And that's the reason why I have the wisdom that I have. I don't just have the wisdom that I have because I've done research. I've learned firsthand from my mistakes. I've learned from observing mistakes of the individuals around me. I've learned from observing the mistakes of the elders that were around me. So I learned from a large quantity of mistakes. And now I share that knowledge with other people. Don't go down that same path because it won't end well. So I'm not one to be judgy. I actually sit there and try to rationalize, well, how did somebody fuck up the situation that got this person in the situation that they're in? What if you didn't do anything wrong? You just didn't do anything and you were the one left holding the bag. You ever been to the store with somebody who steals? You didn't know that they steal. You walk out of the building and the guard grabs the both of y'all. They got something. You didn't know how they get their hands on that, but now both of y'all sitting in the guard's office. Be real with you, bro. You don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. You get caught up. Michael says, I'm a diamond in the rough. Time has shaped me. I wouldn't say a diamond. I'm more of an emerald, uh, which is harder to come by and comes from a way worse area of bullshit to be formed. But I do get the metaphor. The fact is that when you're structured from a long quantity of conflict and chaos, and you're completely overlooked by a large quantity of individuals passing by because in this mountain of coal is a diamond, is a gem. I was formed off of more volatile chaos, emerald. There was a lot more catastrophic failure involved, emerald. And what came out of that is a rock. That's what an emerald is, a rock. It's a big rock. A diamond is a lump of coal. Emerald is a big rock, which may not even be as valuable as the diamond. It just looks prettier. Again, emerald. Like and subscribe, y'all. Now, this is going to make individuals when you give off the perception that you're flawless and you expect them to be flawless, it gives them the perception to be guarded and more insecure. And that's not the goal that you're looking for. You don't want individuals to feel like they have to try so hard. In fact, when I start observing somebody making a mistake in my presence, I let them know, oh, it's all right for you to fuck that up. Don't worry, I got you. Soon as you scan that extra whatever, I'm going to cover the difference because the tax on that is going to be higher than you think. Let them know it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. Also, with full transparency, I expect people to call me and tell me that they're failing, which is going to cause me a financial deficit. I had a buddy of mine call me and let me know when his battery stopped working in his car, even though I kept telling him to replace the battery. I bought a battery and brought it to him. And then I reminded him, didn't I tell you to get this battery replaced? Didn't I tell you to do the warranty thing? Didn't I tell you to, right? Okay, so next time when I tell you to do this, you make sure you go do it. You should put an extra battery in your trunk. That way you don't got this problem. But I'm not going to say, oh man, you should feel ashamed of yourself, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm showing you cause and effect. Because I noticed a problem 5 weeks ago, I told you about it. 5 weeks later, you're in distress because you didn't follow my instructions. Proactive self preservation. You must recognize that something bad might happen coming soon and you need to start preparing for it. That's it. My friend can call me and tell me come get him out of jail. They can call me and tell me come help him with some bills. And I'm not gonna fuss at him about nothing. One of my friends he got fired off of his job for saying something stupid again. And I told him, didn't I tell you don't talk to these folks? Don't talk to them about nothing catastrophic. Don't talk to them about nothing toxic. Don't talk to them about nothing because you will get hemmed up. And then he didn't listen. Then when he lost his job, I'm like, man, that sucks. Empathy. I know what it's like to lose a job that you really liked working on or one that paid you well. I know what that's like. Oh, it sucks. Was I? Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear. No, that's sympathy. I don't give a fuck if you lost your job, bro. I just know that it sucks. Michael says we are all star children. Is he still your friend? Yeah, my boys are still my boys, bro. I got some that I can't rely on, and I got some that I do. The ones that I can't rely on and spend less time with, and I definitely do not allow them to negatively impact my agenda. I know folks from way back when. You're talking about the friend with the stealing thing. That happened when I was like 8. No, me and him don't talk to one another no more. The other one that makes stupid decisions, yeah, I still talk to them. I'm not close enough to them for them to make stupid decisions that negatively impact my money, though. No, because I ain't going to jail for nothing. Take me nowhere. I'm like, set it off. What Queen Latifah said, I ain't going back. They taking me right here. It's Judgment Day. It's stand your ground, George Zimmerman style. This was like I said, we have a lot of empathy in nursing. Oh, sorry, he passed. That is not empathy, bro. That is not empathy. That is sympathy. In the nursing homes, when they be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, he passed." That's sympathy because they don't give a fuck. You know how the first time somebody died and the nurse cried, that's empathy because she can feel the pain of that loss. The 384th time that the nurse come and tell somebody that your family member ain't here no more, we already changed the sheets and put somebody else in the room. That is not empathy because empathy recognizes that though people die on me 3 times a week, this might be the first death in your family. And I just want you to understand that I know that this is hard. And because I know this is hard, you can take as much time as you need in the room. The body's downstairs. You can take as much time as you need downstairs. Let me know if I can get anything for you. I'm going to give you guys a moment. That is empathy. I'm going to come back and check on y'all in like 20 minutes. So don't give me a reason to have to clean this room up a second time. That's empathy. Empathy does not mean that I have to pity you. Empathy means that I have to recognize that your feelings are important, that your feelings might not be happy right now. They might not be content right now. And whatever you're about to go through is okay. That is empathy. Sympathy is feeling sorry for whatever it is that you're going through. I'm not sorry for you if your car blows up. I'm not sorry for you if your house burns down. That is sympathy. Empathy is I know what it's like to have everything I have taken from me. I know what that's like. So your house burned down, everything that you had taken from you. So I know what that's like. I know that that is hard. And because I know that that is hard, I'm going to give you a hand. I'm going to take you somewhere, give you a place to stay for the night. I might buy you some clothes so that you got something to wear for the week. And then I'm going to come and check on you in a couple days to make sure that you've been eating and make sure that you can get back on your feet because I know what it's like to be in a situation where you don't have a way to start over. That is empathy. Big difference. Big difference. Sympathy. He says, Senpais is emotional. Empathy is just showing respect for your loss. Yes. Okay. Now, respecting someone's loss has gotten really, really horrible lately. We traditionally only say, I'm sorry for your loss when we're truly not sorry. Let's be honest. We are not sorry because nothing happened to me. I didn't do anything. You lost this person. I showed up. That's me showing compassion for the fact that you lost something, but nothing happened. I'm not sorry for this because I didn't cause this. And people say that I'm sorry because they don't know what else to say. The appropriate word would be my condolences. We don't use that word because it's too hard to pronounce for the average individual. So they just hit the, oh, I'm sorry. You mention somebody's family member and they tell you that that family member is dead. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Then what are you sorry about? The person died years ago. You didn't know. What are you sorry for? You didn't do anything wrong. You're apologizing because what? You touched the nerve or you triggered a response that hurt your feelings. So why are you empathetic about yourself? You're sorry that you said something that made you feel stupid in the moment. So you're apologizing to me because you feel like an asshole. That is not what we're supposed to do. Right? The difference between sympathy and empathy, right? People don't understand the difference. Truth be told, these days when somebody come back and tell me something that's bad, I'm not gonna tell them, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." I tell them, "Yep, that sucks. That really sucks. That's a horrible thing to go through, bro." That's it. That's sympathy is showing sorrow. Yeah, that's it. Because I'm not showing you no remorse, none. Because I didn't do anything to cause this. It's like, yeah, that sucks. Yeah, man. Now you got to take days off from work. You're gonna have to plan a funeral. You're gonna be out there all day. You got to drop this guy in a hole. And the worst part about the whole thing is you still got to pay the bill. That's thousands of dollars to put somebody in a hole in the ground that you didn't have to dig yourself when you could have saved so much money by dialing 811, digging that hole yourself, and just dropping a body in your backyard. Just and you don't even need to waste money on the tombstone. I don't know. I don't know. The, the difference between sympathy and empathy. Now, the paradox that I'm telling you guys about when you are showing people your weaknesses early on comes in this paradox. Because the paradox is that your curated perfection does not draw people in, it keeps them at a distance. It's your vulnerability that invites them closer. Being able to make a mistake allows them to be able to recognize that you are human too. This is what some call the vulnerability trust loop. When you share a genuine flaw, and you gotta be careful about your flaws. You're gonna pick your flaws one at a time. The light flaws, throw them into the fold. And then the longer you're around this person, the stronger the bond gets, the heavier flaws you start throwing out. But you never just out the woodwork start talking about this one time at Bible camp where the pastor blessed you with the holy staff. You don't want to start there. You want to start with a regular flaw. Like if somebody crashed a car that they crashed your car, put a dent in it, you talk about how the one time you totaled a car. It's all right. I've totaled a car before. I burned one to the ground. Me and Paul Walker were in the same race. You could just throw it out there. Nobody's car made it out. You could just throw it out there and let them understand it's gonna be okay. I actually had that happen between me and a buddy of mine. He crashed my Audi into his mom's car. It left a dent about the size of the palm of my hand. It was a small dent. It wasn't that big of a deal. And I'm like, don't worry about it, bro. This car is not that important, and it won't last long enough to fix that dent. At the end of the day, I even left the dent. Matter of fact, I actually popped the dent out. Now that I think about it, because it was a side fender. So I popped the hood. I reached into the hood and I took my fist and I kind of just pushed up against the dent. And the dent popped back out. He was like, "How did you do it?" I didn't get the paint off of the car. The paint was still, but the fact is that it wasn't that big of a deal. He was like, "Oh yeah, oh, I'm never gonna drive again." No, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. This is the first crash you're gonna have in life. It's not the last, but it's the first. They get worse from here, so don't worry about it. This is fine. And now the man's got a driver's license. He was a driver for 2 or 3 years after that. Not a driver anymore. Now he works for a tech company. But fact is, it's he learned from that experience because empathy. I know what it's like. I was like, oh, I didn't show him sympathy. I'm like, oh man, oh, I'm so sorry that you crashed. Mike, no, I don't give a fuck. Michael says you can donate your body to med school. No, you do not donate your body to anybody. You want to first and foremost, we're organ donors. I want to talk about that real quick, ladies and gentlemen. We're all, most of us were foolish enough to have that heart put on our driver's license. So if we die and we make it to a hospital, they will harvest our organs before the funeral, period. Because you're an organ donor. They will harvest you. No such thing as consent because you put it on your driver's license. It's public record that you do not mind that if you die, that they will harvest your organs. Now, after that, you're saying that whatever organs that didn't get harvested by the local hospital right after you die will get shipped off to a med school. I said to myself, and I said to a couple of my buddies, I was like, bro, I am either going out one of two ways, three ways now, as of recent. I'm either going out like Scarface, Paul Walker, or Kobe Bryant. End of discussion. there is there is no falling asleep like the Matrix and never waking up kind of harvest my organs scenario. Not happening. It is going to be an extreme blaze of glory or stupidity, however you want to look at it. He said, harvest the organs if you are an organ donor. Yeah, that's right. And if you're an organ donor, and if you go to the Middle East, they might help you out with that when you wake up in a bathtub full of ice. Just saying. Now, when you're sharing your genuine flaws or past mistakes, you're sending a powerful social signal. You're saying that I'm not a threat. I'm not competing with you in life. I am a human just like you, and I trust you enough to show you a part of me that isn't perfect. And I've done this on the show plenty of times. I give you guys little tidbits of things that I've done that's been extremely stupid. Not going to go through the list right now, but I have. And this simple act of self disclosure gives the other person permission to take off their mask. And that's something that is clearly important in order for you guys to build a level of true trust. Michael says, I know the last words on your breath, Wilbur. If I can make my last words, Michael, like a scribe, have that put on my tombstone. There it is. Like and subscribe, join the membership. Happy Family Day tomorrow. Family Day. Isn't tomorrow Family Day? Somebody's going to get fired out the family tomorrow. We got to downsize. Inflation's going up. We got too many family members. Shit. Vulnerability is a courageous act that invites loyalty because it shifts the dynamic from posturing to partnership. So when you lead with a flaw, you aren't asking for pity, you are offering a connection. So imagine a new CEO addressing her company. The conventional approach is a polished speech about her vision, about past success. The employees are going to feel respect, but also distance. Now imagine the same CEO, different scenario. Start by saying, I want to tell you about the biggest professional failure of my career, right? Oh, Sunday is family day. Man, I be forgetting. I thought Sunday was a Lord's day. Uh, she tells a short story, honest story. It's going to be about a project that went off the rails, what she got wrong, and what she learned about humility. She then says, I tell you this so that you know I am a leader who is still learning. So this company's success won't depend on my perfection, but our collective courage to try, to fail, and to learn together. So I need your help. That is a dynamic approach. What happens in the hearts of the employees that are listening to this is the walls of intimidation crumbles. They don't see a distant executive. They see a real human being. They don't think she's weak. They think she's brave. So I can trust her. Loyalty begins to sprout right there, not because of her power, but because of her willing admission of imperfection. Because loyalty can come from fear, making people fear you. Loyalty can come from desperation, buying people off. The problem with fear and desperation is when they no longer fear you, they rebel against you. When they're no longer desperate, they rebel against you. When they admire you, recognizing your flaws and your mistakes in that admiration, not because you painted a pinnacle of perfection, but because you painted a picture of humanity and they still admire you, that type of loyalty will not be broken because you can't do anything wrong if they've already recognized your mistakes. But if you paint this picture of perfection that people idolize, Jesus, and then a mistake is made, flaw, the belief is gone. Once you put doubt in perfection, it's no longer perfect. Like chipping the paint, like scratching a pair of Jordans, the value is gone. So, how do you think this would set you up without backfiring? It's not about trauma dumping. That's not what you want to do. Healthy vulnerability is three components. It's a contained story, a past mistake, a simple mistake relative to the situation that you're currently in, or a quirky fear. Can't think of any fears right now. I don't get along with police. That's probably the only fear I've got right now. Everything else is like, fear of falling, quirky fear. Don't have a fear of heights though. Isn't that strange? I have a fear of falling, but I don't have a fear of heights. So I can get as high as I can possibly reach. And my only concern is that if I go over the side, I might go splat. Contradiction. Now, simple, right? It's not an ongoing crisis. It should have been a beginning, middle, and lesson learned at the end kind of situation. The next thing is the goal is connection, not pity. You're not talking about how somebody lived 30 years with cancer and chemo and you're still going through it kind of thing. That's not what it's about. I mean, unless you're in a chemo facility, you're putting out an image that's saying that you are human. You're not trying to say, please fix me. It doesn't undermine your core competence. That's one of the things that you don't want to do. You don't want to walk into an accounting firm and talk about how you lost a client millions of dollars. It doesn't, you don't want this to undermine your competence. You might talk about how you had a bad trade that might have cost you a couple $100 that you bounced back off with three better trades. But you're not going to sit here and talk about catastrophic failure that shows that you're incompetent. But if you've never had a bad trade, other people will be trying to compete against your trading style. But if you're like, I'm not perfect. I do have my days where I don't do a good trade. I've lost a little bit on a couple trades here and there, and then I bounce back off of those trades. You're showing that you can make a mistake. An accountant admitting they're terrible at cooking doesn't make them bad with numbers. The flaw should be adjacent to, not destructive of the reason for the relationship. So, if you're using this particular advice and you're trying to get into a relationship with a girl, you're not projecting the fact that you're a man whore. You're not projecting the fact that you're a cheater. You can project the fact that you're a hopeless romantic, that you try to do things to impress the other person, but you make a lot of mistakes along the way and things don't go according to plan. Letting her know that while you will still fulfill the plan, things don't go the way you initially intended it. She's not going to feel upset about that. But if she tries to do something for you, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. Here's how you lead with your flaws. A new friendship. Instead of just talking about your wins, share a story about being hilariously bad at a new hobby. I once tried a pottery class and ended up with what looked like a deflated ashtray. I have zero artistic talent, but I laughed so hard I cried. Something like that. In dating, on an early date, share a small, quirky anxiety. I have to admit, my sense of direction is so bad. I once got lost in a grocery store. If we go far, if we go for a walk, you might have to be in charge of getting us back. That's a good one. That's a really good one. It's endearing and creates an instant moment of trust. At work, when you don't want to, uh, if you don't know the answer or what to say, this is a tough one. Honestly, I don't have it right off the bat. I'm going to need all of your brains on this. What are you seeing that I'm missing? It doesn't show weakness at all. It shows humility and respect for your team, which fosters immense loyalty. The paradox of imperfection is about choosing to stop performing and start connecting. You want to lead with your flaws, and you'll find that the right people won't run away or bash you for this. They'll pull up a chair and share their own flaws. Before we get into the second one, which is all about turning a relationship into an adventure, I want to hear from you guys. Michael's been doing a good job of giving us a lot of information about this. What has been the biggest challenge you faced when trying to build deep, loyal connections? Is it the fear of being judged? Finding the time? Let me know in the comments. Your experiences are what makes this community so powerful, and I read every single one of them while there's enough time for me to read them all. So, if the first secret was about tearing down walls, the second is about what you build in their place. So, the second secret is to stop just spending time with people and start building something with them. You need to become an architect of alliance, an engineer of shared struggle. Think about how we usually connect. We grab a coffee, we go to dinner. These are pleasant, but passive. They require presence, but not necessarily partnership. Loyalty is forged in fire, as I told you earlier, but most modern relationships are kept at a comfortable room temperature. So we never know if the bond is strong because we never put any weight on it. This is where the alliance engine comes in. Shared challenges bond people more intensely than almost anything else. We see it in the unbreakable bonds between soldiers, the fierce loyalty of a startup team, or the deep camaraderie of a sports team. These bonds are forged through shared struggles, shared risks, and a shared goal. So when you face adversity together, you stop being two separate people and become a single unit with a shared story. So you create an us against the problem dynamic that's incredibly powerful. So think of two brothers who've drifted apart. Their conversations are superficial. One day their parents' basement floods. They spend the next 3 days together hauling out waterlogged furniture and sorting through ruined photos. They get tired, frustrated, and filthy. By the end, something has changed. They aren't just two brothers, they are a team. They shared the struggle of the flooded basement, did more to rebuild their bond than a dozen polite dinners ever could. And the good news is you don't have to wait for disaster to occur for you to do this. You can proactively engineer these moments. So the project needs three things, and this is another unorthodox method: shared effort. So both people have to contribute to this. A goal. There needs to be a clear finish line and a degree of healthy risk. This could be the risk of failure, looking silly, or a small financial loss. Risk creates stakes. I can give you one off the top of my head: risky failure and risk of looking silly. Uh, Duet at a karaoke spot. Um, you could do teams where you and your partner are working together at laser tag, paintballing. Uh, if you're looking at a small financial risk, you guys can join a raffle together, bid on something. But how do you put this to work? In your romantic partnerships, don't just schedule another date night. Propose a project. What if we build our own dining table? Now that's risk with financial loss. Putting together a puzzle, that's not much risk, but building a dining table that you got to eat at, assembling the chairs that you got to sit on, that's some risk. Or let's plan a 10-day backpack trip through a country near one of us that neither of us knows how to shoestring on a budget. You're going out there, you're going to try to survive in a country without enough money to survive. The act of planning and executing together this particular type of adventure is far more bonding than winging it with unlimited resources. With your family, you can create a family project. Let's collectively write a book of our family history, or let's build a community garden together. These shared goals transforms a group of relatives into a real team. You typically have this type of behavior only happen once or twice a year for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner. But if you can find something else that you guys can do as a group, depending on how big your family is, you can work with this. With your work colleagues, forget awkward trust falls. Launch a low stakes creative side project. Organize a charity fundraiser, form a team to compete in a local a trivia league. You can get into a bowling league. The struggle to find a $5 gift card will build more genuine camaraderie than any company mandated fun. This is a shift from passive companionship to active partnerships. By engineering shared struggles, you're introducing a healthy resistance that forces that relationship to grow stronger. You're creating a story you can both look back on and say, remember when we did that? We were a team. That shared identity is the heart of unbreakable loyalty. And I actually had that happen a couple of weeks ago. Remember when the car broke and I called my buddy and I was like, hey, remember when we was in Miami and we broke down? It's happened again because we were in that together. Now we've arrived at the third and final secret, and this one's going to be really good. It's the most challenging and the most transformative. So you think you're being honest, but small omissions and unspoken thoughts are slowly killing the trust in your relationship. And we tell little white lies. We swallow small irritations to avoid conflict. Over time, these unspoken things build a thick, soundproof wall between us. So you can be sitting right next to someone that you love right now while you're on this podcast, but be miles apart, separated by the mountain of things left unsaid, which is why we talked about on Thursday about how the distance between you and your marriage can be rectified. And while we talked about yesterday about settling for the mundane in your relationship. So today, the third thing that we're going to be touching base on is authenticity gauntlet. Ooh, that even sounds conflictual. This is a controlled experiment in what's known as a radical transparency event. It's simple terms where radical transparency is the practice of being completely open and authentic, sharing your feelings, thoughts, and even difficult truths in a way that fosters deeper understanding. It's a commitment to allowing people to see your present moment experiences. This isn't a license to be brutally honest 24/7. It's just because doing that's just going to be cruelty. Instead, it's a dedicated ritual where both people agree to enter a space of absolute truthfulness with the shared goal of deepening their connection. Research shows that couples and teams who engage in this kind of open, honest communication report significantly higher trust and satisfaction. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you're going to pick a room in the house to do this, it can't be the bedroom, and it more than likely should be in a large enough open space so that nobody throwing punches. So if you got a tiny bathroom, you might not want to do this in a bathroom. You might want to catch them in the hallway. You might want to catch them in the garage. But you're gonna want to do this in an isolated location where the neighbors aren't listening to you guys go at it. Now, let's imagine a long-term couple. We're gonna do Mark and Sarah again. I love Mark and Sarah. They're in a rut. They decide to try the authenticity gauntlet. They set aside a Sunday evening. Michael says that Sunday evening is family day. And we're going to turn off their phones and agree to some rules. We're going to use I feel statements, don't interrupt. And the goal is to understand, not to win. So we're not about to get into an argument. We're not about to play tit for tat. I'm going to tell you how I feel about the things that bother me. You're going to tell me how you feel about the things that bother you, and your feelings about the things that I said that bother you should only come after we have gone through all of the things that we directly are bothered by outside of this conversation. So that prevents us from having tit for tat. If you're going to come and talk about how you feel bad that I feel that way because you feel like you're being picked on kind of thing, that's not what we're going with. That's tit for tat. So, if we're going through this, Sarah admits, I feel lonely when we watch TV together because it feels like we're in the same room but not with each other. Mark listens and then says, I feel like a failure sometimes. Wow, that's huge. I feel like I'm not providing the exciting life I thought I would. And TV is an escape because I'm tired of feeling like I'm not enough. That is deep. In that moment, everything cracks open. Sarah sees a man burdened by pressure. Mark sees a woman desperate for connection. The problem was never the TV. This conversation is tough. There are tears, but by the end, for the first time in years, they're seeing the real person in front of them. Their bond isn't just repaired, it's reforged. Running an authenticity gauntlet is a high level skill, so you're going to have to build up to this. And here are the ground rules for the experiment. Consent and timing are everything. Both people must agree. Never spring this on someone. The goal is understanding, not victory. State this at the beginning. We are doing this to get closer, not to win an argument. Use I feel statements. You always ignore me is an attack. I feel ignored when I'm not talking and you look at your phone. That is a statement of your experiences. You're going to do listening to understand, not to rebuke. So your only job is to listen. Ask questions like, can you tell me more about what that feels like? Not to respond or retaliate with an objective rebuttal. Then you're going to schedule a cool down time because these types of discussions will heat up. So you might have to set a limited timer on how long y'all are going to go at this gauntlet and then schedule a cool down time. After the talk, do something low pressure together, non conflictually low pressure together, like go for a quiet walk where you're no longer talking about what's in the gauntlet, or make some tea, cook dinner, whatever the case may be. This is the ultimate expression of trust. It's the belief that your relationship is strong enough to withstand the unvarnished truth. Terrifying, liberating, and the final key to a loyalty that is not just strong, but sacred. So let's recap a little bit. Three unorthodox secrets to forging unbreakable loyalty. After you get past the three pillars, first, the paradox of imperfection. Stop trying to be perfect. Lead with your flaws. Your humanity is your most magnetic quality. Second, the alliance engine. Stop being passive companions and become an active partner. Engineer shared struggles to forge a shared identity. Third, the authenticity gauntlet. Stop letting unspoken truths build a wall. Embark on radical transparencies. Experiment in a way that will either save your connections on a, 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 a safe level or reveal their uncomfortable truths that are preventing you from recovering. You want to get that. What ties all these secrets together is one powerful idea. The unbreakable loyalty is not a reward for being flawless. It is a consequence of being brave. It has the ability to have the courage to be vulnerable, courageous, and face challenges as a team, and the courage to speak and hear the truth. Because a lot of the times we have people that and conspiracy to forget and ignore the truth. The methods are unorthodox because they ask you to risk rejection and discomfort to be seen truthfully. Now I see that Fireball just got in. He said, "How you doing? I just bought XRP cryptocurrency. Does it have a future?" Yeah, it does. We were talking about XRP 3 or 4 days ago. And if you buy into XRP, you're going to be trading against other cryptocurrencies. But if you're buying into XRP, you hold on to it for a while, you're going to see a rise in it. Likewise, Bitcoin is starting to reach its peak of the year. Really, I should go and grab some Bitcoin. Well, not grab Bitcoin stock, but go and do some research on some Bitcoin stock to update you guys as to where it has been over the past 4 months. Because the last time we looked at it, it was getting closer to $120,000. So I'm going to double check and see where it is and where it's supposed to be at, and give you guys some information on that cryptocurrency. But yeah, special shout out to TS Fireball. Special shout out to Max Opposer and his dad Joe. It's been a while since those guys dove in, but I guess it's summertime, so you kids are able to come through in the middle of the night. Well, we still are live every night of the week. We just stop airing at 9 o'clock. We started airing at almost 11. So you miss out on us from time to time, probably because it's past your bedtime. Either way, utilizing the three pillars that I gave you, you come to learn that the reward for the risk is the most profound connection a human can experience without having to go through catastrophic failure in your life. It's the feeling of being fully known and fully accepted. And it's the security of a bond that doesn't fracture under the pressure, but grows stronger. So the final question isn't whether you're worthy of this kind of loyalty. The question is, are you brave enough to build it? Now, if you guys have resonated with this video and you're still hanging around and you're ready to build deeper connections, then make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you follow on Twitter, follow on Twitch, follow us on YouTube. Hit that notification bell because we've got a lot of shows that's already pre-scheduled, and you can hit that notification bell on a lot of those shows so that you don't miss out when the show goes live. We're going to be exploring the psychology of human connections every week. And for your next step, if you watch the videos right here, where we break down the 7 subtle signs of true loyalty in a person, you can learn to recognize the invaluable allies in your own life. So that's going to end up being another one of the shows that we're going to have scheduled for next weekend. With that being said, I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Thank you guys for staying loyal to us throughout the year. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And then, fellas, we are now at about 65% male-driven podcast from the male perspective, because we got a lot more ladies coming in on this. Fellas, I give you this information to help you become higher valued men, but I understand that this information is not gender exclusive. So, ladies, y'all can take this knowledge and make yourselves better as well. I'm going to tell you guys tomorrow we have the members only show that's open to the public, where you guys on Twitch and Twitter can join us on YouTube with the questions and comments from the fans. Sunday night, we're going to be starting at about 11:30, 11:35 Eastern Standard Time. So you guys will be able to come through and enjoy a lot of questions from the fans. We're going to be playing audios of their comments from the comment sections from before. You'll be able to hear what they've had to say. We're going to be doing reactions to those, and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about it. And whatever you guys ask in the process that is appropriate, we'll be able to cover that as well. So looking at the rest of this week, we've got a large lineup coming up that's already pre-scheduled. And I want you guys to be a part of it. Specifically, the trading parts that we're going to be talking about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You guys got to make sure that you come in and take a look at those. I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm host Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.